Are you concerned about Norfolk Southern as a company?
I am, although to be clear, these issues have existed across the different Class 1 freight railroads. But when you see this many high-profile incidents involving one company, that's an area of particular concern, and that's something that our investigators will continue to take seriously as they look at this and other incidents.
And I want to get to the Ohio train derailments, specifically focusing on what's happening with Norfolk Southern. So just this past weekend, as you are aware, there was a second derailment in the state in just a month's time. So looking at that derailment, officials say that there's no hazardous materials on the cars that derailed, but there's not a lot of public confidence right now. People are concerned. So what is your biggest concern with this specific incident? What do you know?
Well, in this case, I spoke soon after the incident happened, again, to the Federal Rail Administration and to the governor to offer our support. There was a lot of fear and concern, especially after what happened in East Palestine and residents being told to shelter in place. Thankfully, that order could be lifted quickly because none of what was spilled or knocked loose in the derailment qualified as a hazardous material. But there was still a cleanup operation that had to take place to recover and pick up all of that cargo. And the causes of that are still being investigated. Look, the bottom line here is that we're in a moment that requires us to do more. The brutal reality is these kinds of derailments, crashes, and other issues have already been happening, I think, at a much higher level than most people realize. But in addition to the work we've been doing since day one as an administration, I think because there is so much public attention now seeing how important this is, there's a moment to get real reform. That's why we welcome the bipartisan work that's happening in Congress right now, and it needs to move quickly, get to the president's desk so that we have those expanded authorities to hold these railroad companies accountable for safety.
Do you see that the number of derailments have gone up, and is that a concern for you?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to, let me put it this way. One derailment is too many. So while the numbers might be lower than they were 10 or 20 years ago, even one community going through what the people of East Palestine went through, or the community in Clark County that experienced this, that's something that we have to keep fighting against. That's why we have these regulations to begin with. And it's why, in my view, we need to raise them to a higher standard.
So I want to get to the 6-point safety plan that Norfolk Southern released just yesterday. They said that in this plan they want to focus on adding hot bearing detectors among some other things. Are you satisfied with their plan?
Well, I'd say that these are good steps. We've been looking at those hot bearing detectors as well and put out a safety advisory on that. And I'm glad that Norfolk Southern, along with all of the major railroad companies, responded to my call to sign up for a whistleblower protection system so that more close calls get reported. But there has to be more, not just more on the part of the railroads, and I've called on Norfolk Southern to proactively notify communities when hazardous material is coming through their area. But also there's more that we need to do in terms of the legislation. It can't just be things that we expect the railroads to do voluntarily, although I'm asking them to step it up. It's got to be what we require of the railroads, what we can enforce. And when it comes to enforcement, I just don't believe that 6-figure fines are enough for multi-billion-dollar companies, which is why I'm glad that one of the things I called for that's in that legislation is increasing those fines to a level that would really get the company's attention.
What do you want to hear from the CEO when he's testifying this week?
Well, he's apologized, and I expect that to continue. What I most want to hear is steps that are going to make sure these can't happen again. And I would like to hear him indicate that his company and the other railroad companies are going to change their course from fighting us tooth and nail whenever we propose higher safety regulations to partnering with us to raise the bar.